Imagine pulling off like the perfect bank robbery. You bypass all the alarms, you empty this massive vault of millions, and you slip through a custom-built trapdoor into a moving vehicle.
Right, right. While SWAT teams are literally surrounding the building outside.
Exactly. I mean, you've committed the crime of the century. You are totally untraceable, only to have your entire meticulously engineered operation unraveled just because, well, one of your crew decided to grab a solo dinner at a cafe across the street.
Yeah, it's really the ultimate collision between this flawless theoretical planning and, the messy reality of human habit.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking you into the gritty, fast-paced world of a film script titled Triplex, written by Dawood Seydkuliyu.
It's quite a ride.
Oh, absolutely. We have the source material and our own research notes right here in front of us, and our mission today is to deconstruct this totally intricate cops and thieves narrative.
Right, because it's not just an action piece.
No, not at all. We aren't just going to look at the jaw-dropping architectural mechanics of the bank heist at the center of the story. We're really diving into the psychological chess match.
Yeah, the chess match between a crew of brilliant criminals and the relentless detectives hunting them.
Exactly.
The text actually operates on this really fascinating dual track. You have the kinetic momentum of the physical pursuit, the tunneling, the shootouts, the rigged explosives.
Loud stuff, yeah.
Right, the loud stuff. But driving all of that kinetic energy is a very deliberate exploration of how ego, morality, and just microscopic human errors kind of compound when the stakes are life and death.
Okay, let's unpack this. We need to start with the initial takeover of the Brit Interbank, which the script also refers to as Russia Bank.
Yeah, two names for the same target.
Right, and the precision here is just terrifying. Walk us through how this crew actually commands the space the moment they walk through those doors.
Well, what's fascinating here is the sheer overwhelming synchronization of the breach. I mean, this is not a chaotic smash and grab.
No, definitely not.
You have a crew of 8 people, 7 men and 1 woman stepping out of a black Jeep with tinted windows. And they wear dark clothing, black stocking masks, and they just bypass pedestrians with total purpose.
Like a military unit.
Exactly like that. Once inside, they don't just, point guns and yell. They deploy this whole spectrum of specific weaponry designed for complete psychological and physical dominance.
Right. The guns are very specific.
Yeah, they have a nickel-plated Colt .38, an UZI, a Kalashnikov, and a heavy police python.
See, that specific mix of weapons feels so intentional to me. It's not just whatever they could find in a duffel bag,
Right, there's a real logic to it.
Yeah. You have the Kalashnikov and the UZI for area denial, basically putting high-volume, small-caliber rounds through the glass ceiling to instantly terrify a crowd into submission.
It creates instant compliance.
Exactly. And then you have the heavy revolvers, the Python and the .38, which are more like close-quarters intimidation tools. I mean, they don't jam, and they just look devastating.
They do. They're really curating the atmosphere of the room. And they also instantly deploy a tactical decoy, which is brilliant.
Oh, the bomb.
Yes. They attach a box with a blinking red light to the outside door. It's a bomb threat, intended to immediately freeze any first responders who arrive on the scene.
Because police protocol for a bomb is totally different.
Exactly. It requires a perimeter, bomb squads, standoff distance. So the robbers are buying themselves a very specific window of time by literally paralyzing the police response right at the threshold.
But the psychological dominance requires a demonstration, right?
Okay.
And that's where the script gets incredibly brutal. There's a guard, a 30-year-old guy in a half-police uniform.
Right.
He tries to intervene. He pulls a TT pistol and orders them to drop their weapons. But he's shot in the shoulder, drops his gun, and tries to crawl away behind a partition.
Which, in a standard robbery narrative, that would be the end of the guard's involvement. He's wounded, he's neutralized.
You'd think so.
But this shooter actually walks around the counter, stands over the wounded, terrified guard, and executes him point blank.
It's so cold.
It really is. It recalibrates the entire room. The crew is sending a definitive message to the hostages. We value our timeline over human life, and there will be no negotiations.
And that timeline is incredibly tight. The alarm is triggered, and these 2 investigators, Ilya and Alex, are racing to the scene. The police response time in this scenario is clocked at roughly 6 minutes.
And 6 minutes is a lifetime if your operation is modular.
What do you mean by modular?
Well, down in the storage basement, the crew has a dedicated safecracker. He completely ignores all the adrenaline and the violence of the takeover upstairs.
Oh, wow. Just totally zoned in.
Right. One of his accomplices is literally standing over him with a stopwatch, timing him. He uses these specialized steel rods to manipulate the massive internal tumblers of the man-sized vault door.
No explosives.
No, safecracking at this level isn't about explosions. It's all about tactile feedback, feeling the friction and the acoustic shifts in the locking mechanism.
And he cracks a commercial steel vault in exactly 4 minutes and 37 seconds.
It's just a staggering display of skill.
It really is. Yeah. And they sweep up $120,000, 370,000 euros, and 2 million rubles. But interestingly, the safecracker finds a small box inside.
Ah, yeah. The diamond.
Yes, a diamond the size of a pigeon's egg. And he quietly slips it into his pocket without telling anyone else.
Which is such a great detail. That little act of internal secret keeping is a perfect indicator of the underlying greed that eventually fractures crews like this.
Totally. But the hall itself is almost secondary to the escape. Because upstairs, the bank is completely surrounded at this point. Tactical Commander Max has SWAT teams, snipers, and a massive police cordon locking down the whole block.
Right, they think they have them cornered.
Exactly. They're preparing to defuse the bomb on the front door. They fully believe they have the robbers trapped in a static box. It honestly reminds me of a closed system exploit in cybersecurity.
Oh, that's an interesting comparison. Expand on that a bit.
Well, in cybersecurity, a defender might put all their firewalls and encryption on the network's perimeter, right? Like the front door, the windows, the obvious points of entry.
Right, the stuff you expect to be attacked.
Exactly. They think the system is secure because the perimeter is locked. But an advanced hacker doesn't fight the firewall. They find a vulnerability in the underlying architecture.
Like a structural flaw?
Yes, like a flaw in the actual hardware or a forgotten legacy protocol. And they just slip out through a channel the defender didn't even realize was connected. The robbers essentially pull off an architectural sleight of hand.
That is a perfect analogy. The police lock down the horizontal axis, the streets, the doors, the windows. But the robbers exploit the vertical axis. They go down.
Into the plumbing.
Literally. 3 of the robbers enter the bank's restroom. They find a very specific, pre-scouted hollow spot on the tiled wall, and they attach a suction cup explosive.
A shaped charge, right?
Yeah, most likely a shaped charge. It's designed to direct the concussive force inward in a tight radius, blowing a clean, circular hole directly into the city's sewer system.
Without bringing down the structural beams of the bank.
Exactly. It's surgical.
So they toss the bags of cash into the hole, climb into the wastewater, and simply walk away beneath the feet of the SWAT teams.
It's brilliant.
They wade through the dark tunnels for about 30 or 40 meters until they reach a specific manhole. And parked directly over that manhole, on the busy street above, is a modified black Mercedes minibus.
Right. They open the manhole cover, climb straight up into a square hatch, cut into the floorboards of the van, close the hatch, and just drive away.
Incredible.
It is an astonishing inversion of the tactical situation. The police are out there preparing for a hostage standoff, basically negotiating with an empty building.
While the suspects are seamlessly merging into afternoon traffic, they just weaponize the city's own infrastructure against the authorities.
But, when you slip through the plumbing, you leave the controlled, engineered environment of the bank vault, and you enter the messy, unpredictable reality of the street.
Yeah, the grand plan worked perfectly. The blueprint was flawless. But the real world is full of entropy.
Exactly.
The detectives are now hunting ghosts, and they're completely dependent on random anomalies to pick up the trail.
And the script introduces that entropy almost immediately. A patrolman receives a generic radio alert about a suspicious black Mercedes minivan with a potentially modified floorboard.
Right, just a standard BLO.
Yeah, and he spots one stopped at a traffic light and initiates a routine check. He knocks on the window, asks for documents. The driver is completely calm, handing over his license.
But the moment the patrolman asks to inspect the back of the van, the situation escalates from 0 to lethal instantly.
Just 0 to 100.
The driver reaches under a newspaper resting on the passenger seat, pulls up a pistol equipped with a silencer, and shoots the patrolman directly in the chest.
The silencer is really key here. It masks the acoustic signature of the gunshot in the middle of busy traffic.
And the newspaper hides the drawstroke.
Exactly. It's a terrifyingly casual act of violence. The patrolman falls to the sidewalk, and the minivan just speeds off, leaving all the surrounding drivers entirely confused about what just happened.
And this is where that human variable we talked about earlier strikes. An off-duty cop with a VDV tattoo is sitting in his Jeep right behind the minivan, just, listening to rap music.
Talk about bad luck for the robbers.
Right. He witnesses the murder, jots down the license plate on a notepad, and begins tailing them. He uses his knowledge of the city's back streets to track the minivan to an isolated house in the suburbs without being spotted.
He radios in the location, and suddenly the police have their target back. Investigators Ilya and Alex, along with Tactical Commander Max, arrive with a full SWAT element.
A huge response this time.
We are talking 30 men in heavy tactical gear. They throw grappling hooks to secure the roof. They plant breaching explosives on the reinforced front door. They are preparing for a massive siege against a heavily armed crew.
They blow the door, smash the windows with suppressive machine gun fire, and basically flood the hallway. But the house is dead silent.
Yeah.
They sweep into the central hall, and sitting right on a table is a box. Ticking clock, blinking red light.
A nightmare scenario for a SWAT team.
Total nightmare. The tactical commander realizes the trap and screams for an immediate evacuation. I mean, men are diving out of shattered windows and rappelling off the roof in pure panic.
And then the entire house detonates in a massive fireball, throwing armored soldiers across the lawn. It is a catastrophic, humiliating disaster for law enforcement.
As the smoke clears, investigator Ilya pieces it together. He orders Alex to check the basements of the neighboring houses.
Because they did it again.
They did. The robbers didn't just dig a tunnel under the bank's restroom. They dug a second massive underground tunnel from the basement of this suburban trap house to a neighboring garage.
So they slipped out and drove away in a completely different vehicle while the police surrounded a rigged bomb.
The level of foresight is just staggering. But let me push back on this strategy for a second, though.
Sure.
Is this level of hyper-preparation actually a massive operational liability? I mean, think about the logistics of digging a second tunnel from a suburban basement to another property.
It's huge.
You have to mask the noise of the excavation. You have to dispose of tons of displaced dirt without the neighbors noticing. Aren't they exponentially increasing their chances of getting caught by a nosy neighbor or meter reader weeks before the heist even happens?
Well, from a purely statistical standpoint, yes. The more complex a system is, the more points of failure it possesses.
Yeah.
But we really have to analyze the psychology of this specific crew.
Okay, how so?
They operate under a doctrine of extreme hyper-contingency. The suburban house wasn't ever intended to be a safe haven. It was a psychological weapon.
I see.
They built a highly destructive Plan B designed specifically to maim police officers and shatter their morale. It's asymmetric warfare.
So it's about sending a message.
Right. They want the detectives to feel paralyzing hesitation, to believe that every tactical breach is actually stepping onto a landmine.
Man, that kind of total humiliating tactical failure doesn't just leave a physical crater in the suburbs. It leaves a psychological one in the police department.
Oh, absolutely.
When explosives and SWAT teams fail, detectives are backed into a corner. And that desperation is exactly what breeds ethical compromise.
Which brings us to the massive ideological clash between investigators Ilya and Alex.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We're in the police canteen. The atmosphere is just super tense. Earlier in the investigation, they had questioned a video store clerk whose shop was right near the street where the Mercedes vanished into traffic.
Right. The clerk claimed he didn't see anything.
Yeah. And Alex is sitting at the table, furious. And he argues they should have thrown that clerk in a cell and basically beaten a confession out of him.
Alex is operating on pure utilitarian pragmatism here. From his perspective, they are hunting cop killers who just detonated a residential building.
He feels justified.
Entirely. The preservation of life outweighs the civil rights of an uncooperative witness in his mind. He believes coercion is a necessary, albeit ugly, tool to bridge the intelligence gap.
But Ilya violently disagrees. He actually stops eating, stands up, and raises his voice so the entire canteen can hear him.
He makes a huge scene.
He does. He argues 2 points. First, the practical point. A lawyer would have the clerk out in hours, and the gang would likely murder the clerk for talking anyway. But then he delivers the moral argument.
This is the core of it.
He says people fear corrupt, violent police with clubs more than they fear bandits. He asks Alex, why add to the evil?
It is a profound question in the middle of what is basically a procedural thriller.
It is. And, put yourself in Ilya's shoes for a second. Your colleagues are in the hospital or the morgue. The public is terrified. The pressure from the commissioner must be just immense.
Unbearable.
So maintaining a strict moral compass when brutality might actually yield a quick lead is incredibly difficult. Does Ilya's restraint make him a sharper detective? Or is Alex's aggressive, rule-breaking pragmatism the only way to actually catch a crew this sophisticated?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture of the narrative, the script actually validates both of their strengths, but it heavily favors intellect and empathy over raw brutality.
How does it show that?
Ilya's empathetic restraint actually pays massive dividends. He returns to the video store clerk, alone, out of uniform, and he doesn't threaten the man at all.
He takes the opposite approach.
Right, he lowers the stakes. He tells the clerk he won't call him to testify and won't guilt trip him about the murdered guard's family. He just slides a photograph across the counter and asks for a simple nod.
He creates a safe environment for the truth.
Precisely. The clerk, realizing he won't be exposed to the gang's retaliation or police harassment, gives a silent, meaningful confirmation of the suspect in the photo.
Empathy and de-escalation yielded the critical intelligence that a beating would have likely just buried forever.
Exactly.
But, I mean, we have to give Alex some credit here because that photograph the clerk identified, that came from Alex's mind, not his fists.
That's true. Alex pivots his frustration away from violence and channels it into the digital archive. He possesses a photographic memory, which, in investigative work isn't just about remembering facts.
It's about spotting the outliers.
Right. Spotting subtle anomalies in massive data sets. He is scrolling through thousands of faces in the criminal database, and his brain flags a match.
He remembers the cafe.
He does. During the initial bank standoff, while the bomb threat was active and sirens were blaring, there was a cafe directly across the street. Alex had personally walked in to clear the area. And he remembers a man with a very, quote, standard face, sitting at a table by the window, calmly eating dinner alone amidst all the chaos.
It's the ultimate anomaly. No civilian calmly eats a steak while SWAT teams are deploying heavy weapons 50 yards away.
Of course not. So Alex connects the dots. This man wasn't a hungry bystander. He was the crew's designated lookout and getaway driver.
Wow.
He was sitting in plain sight, finishing his meal, just waiting for the precise chronological trigger to drive the Mercedes over the manhole cover.
So that silent confirmation from the clerk, combined with the face pulled from the archive by Alex, narrows the entire citywide hunt down to one isolated target.
They finally have a real thread.
They identify the driver and track his movements to the gang's final hideout, which is a large house situated on the coast. The meticulous invisible plan has finally collapsed, setting the stage for a brutal collision.
And Alex decides to take a massive personal risk here. He approaches the coastal house alone, adopting the persona of a bumbling, lost investigator asking mundane questions, purely to provoke a reaction.
Just playing dumb to lure him out.
Yeah, he lures the suspect out toward the shoreline.
The tension there is incredible. Alex casually drops the facade and mentions he recognizes the man from the cafe across from the bank, and the suspect instantly draws a weapon and aims it directly at Alex's head.
But Alex is acting as bait. He is wearing a wire, and Max's tactical team is already ghosting through the tree line. Before the suspect can pull the trigger, a concealed police sniper puts a bullet through his temple.
Boom. The suppression is gone. SWAT launches a full-scale assault on the house with an armored vehicle and heavy explosives. They just blow the reinforced doors off the hinges.
It's a total contrast to the beginning.
Right. Think about the stark contrast here. The bank robbery was pristine, calculated, and controlled down to the absolute second. They managed every variable. But this final raid is pure, unfiltered chaos. It's a bloodbath.
The structural hierarchy of the crew completely disintegrates. The shared mission evaporates into pure, primal survival.
Every man for himself.
Exactly. Two of the robbers abandon the house, attempting to flee through the garage in a secondary vehicle. As they crash through the garage doors, the SWAT assault team unleashes a devastating barrage of machine gun fire, completely shredding the car.
Yeah.
It collides with a perimeter fence, leaving the occupants dead inside.
And the violence inside the house is equally tragic. Alex is sweeping through the smoke-filled, shattered corridors. He encounters Sveta, the lone female member of the crew.
Right.
She is visibly panicked. Her carefully maintained composure is entirely gone. Alex screams at her to drop the weapon. But instead of surrendering, she raises her gun toward him.
She makes a fatal choice.
She does. Alex fires. And the script provides this deeply somber, vivid imagery. She collapses, her dark hair spilling across the room and floor, her pistol lying completely useless in her open palm.
It strips away all the glamorous illusion of the heist. You are left with the grim, mechanical reality of terminal velocity. When you introduce uncontrollable human variables into a closed system, like a patrolman asking for an ID, an off-duty cop listening to the radio, an investigator with a photographic memory. The entire master plan unravels. They devolve from architectural masterminds into cornered, desperate animals.
So what does this all mean? Look at the wreckage Ilya is walking through at the end. The smoke is clearing, there is blood and broken glass everywhere, and he secures the heavy bags full of cash. The entire crew is dead or in handcuffs.
It's a total loss for the crew.
They engineered this elegant, nearly victimless vault breach with synchronized watches, shaped charges, and custom sewer tunnels. But it inevitably terminates in a chaotic, desperate shootout in a suburban garage.
It perfectly illustrates that intelligence and engineering can only insulate you from reality for so long.
Whether you are managing a massive corporate project, organizing a complex logistical event, or just trying to navigate a difficult week, this narrative is a profound reminder that even the most meticulously planned systems share a single universal point of failure.
That's very true.
You can build the perfect machine, but a human still has to operate it.
The human element is the ultimate unpredictable variable.
Which leaves me with a final provocative thought for you to ponder today. This entire gang, this billion-dollar crew armed with heavy weapons, explosive traps, and custom underground tunnels, was ultimately completely annihilated for one reason.
One tiny mistake.
The lookout decided he wanted to eat dinner at a cafe across the street, making his face visible to a detective for a few brief seconds.
Yep.
If he had just stayed in the car, or if he had simply skipped lunch, would they have gotten away with the perfect crime? How often in your own life does a completely mundane, seemingly irrelevant decision end up unraveling an entire master plan? Think about that the next time you decide to grab a sandwich. Thanks for joining us on this deep